This is a bad look for former Toronto Raptors head coach Nick Nurse, as he was previously the head of Team Canada basketball, but after he got fired by the Toronto Raptors, news came out that he'd stay in that role, remain committed to Team Canada going forward to the Olympics, but turns out he ended up stepping down from that role, and no fault of his own, to be fair, as apparently it was the Philadelphia 76ers that made the decision to say, hey, Nick Nurse, you're not coaching Team Canada anymore. So that's that. We've already covered that point, but the reason things are looking a little bit ugly for Nick Nurse is because players that previously weren't willing to play on Team Canada with Nick Nurse being head coach, commanding the roster, making the rules, demanding things from the players, those players that denied the Team Canada basketball requests are apparently now reconsidering. So we'll break down all of this and what it means for Team Canada on our quest, to make the Olympics and hopefully make a push, given the fact we have a lot of talent on the roster now at this point. So let's do a little recap. I kind of summarized it all right there, but basically, Michael Grange confirmed that Canada basketball sources confirmed that Nick Nurse is stepping down as head coach for the senior men's national team. The time for a commitment after taking over Sixers head coaching job was way too much. Nurse reached out to the team members and helped Canada basketball identify Jordi Fernandez who's the Kings assistant coach as a replacement for the squad. So, Nick Nurse, he did all the right things there, and as Doug Smith sort of brought up, everything I'm hearing is that this is the Sixers' call, not Nurse's. I do know that Nurse had huge interest in FIBA basketball, and having been an assistant coach with Great Britain and London, he was hoping to head coach Team Canada and France. So, don't blame Nick Nurse on that front. He wanted to be committed and all that sort of stuff, and apparently he helped the Raptors go out and get Jordi Fernandez, who actually was a candidate to potentially replace Nick Nurse, one of the finalists for the Toronto Raptors job. So a lot of Raptors fans are pretty familiar, at least, with that name being thrown out in potential head coaching discussions. And interestingly enough, he was also an assistant coach on Team Canada in the past. I'm surprised that wasn't dug up previously, as he was on Leo Routen's coaching staffs while he was previously the head coach of Team Canada. So it's a little interesting tidbit there. It's not like this hiring's coming out of nowhere. It was Masai Ujiri appointing him to, this is your consolation for not getting the Raptors job, Team Canada. He already had his connections. He already have earned it. And apparently Nick Nurse had a point in getting Jordi Fernandez hired. So that's a plus there. But the really interesting, we mentioned this in the intro, the juicy part of this and why it's kind of a bad look for Nick Nurse, given all of the, his stock as a coach has kind of been tanking over the past year, given just last season, Masai Ujiri's COVID, comparing Nick Nurse to be an asset like Kobe Bryant. That was a post-season presser when the Lakers were interested in picking him up. Like, yeah, everyone wants Tiger Woods. Everyone wants Kobe Bryant level players. They can't have him. Well, a year later, we ended up giving him away for nothing, firing him from the squad. But I digress on that point. But basically, with Nick Nurse gone, apparently reports have come out that Nick Nurse's departure from Canada basketball has some players who had previously been away from the program reconsidering their involvement. And now Nick Nurse's ability to build relationships, maintain, just friendliness, like those relationships across the league, that has been something that has been criticized about his ability, because that is something that has to factor in regards to coaching, and apparently it frustrated a lot of players by criticizing them in the media rather than talking them to directly in the locker room, telling them where they can get better, how they can improve. So all those types of things were brought up in terms of criticisms regarding Nick Nurse, as a coach and these types of things. But apparently it's spread not to just Toronto Raptors players, as a lot of guys just weren't that happy in terms of playing under Nick Nurse. And one guy that's most notably under that sort of pool of players is Andrew Wiggins, who a few years ago played in a FIBA qualifier for Team Canada under Nick Nurse and absolutely killed it for the team. Where Andrew Wiggins has been criticized in the past for not playing for Team Canada, not making every single tournament, focusing on his NBA career, his NBA contracts, but he played in this FIBA qualifying tournament and was absolutely electrifying. He ended up to go on to win an NBA championship with the Golden State Warriors, one of the best defenders in the NBA, but he notably did not commit to the 3-year commitment that Nick Nurse was requesting from the players. He said, if you want to be on the team in the Olympics, Nurse came out and said this publicly, if you want to be on this Olympic roster, you have to show up to every single FIBA tournament. You have to make that 3-year commitment to spend, 6, 8 weeks, 10 weeks of the summer in training camp in Team Canada doing unpaid basketball. I assume it's unpaid. and grinding out with the team, playing in those tournaments during your off season, which is something a lot of NBA players just don't generally do unless they're younger guys trying to build up their names. They're not in contract seasons. They don't generally do it. So that, along with all the other stuff regarding Nick Nurse, kind of rubs some of the players the wrong way. And you look at the list of guys, there were still a lot of players that are high, big level names that were committed to Team Canada. Basically, you go through the roster: Nickeil Alexander-Walker, RJ Barrett, Kem Birch, O'Shea Brissett, Dylan Brooks, Lou Dort, Zach Edey, the 7'4" phenom in college, who didn't get drafted this year, surprisingly. I'm not sure if he's going to go back. We'll see what happens with him, but he's a big for Team Canada. Melvin Ejim, who spent some time, he played for Iowa State, I believe, or Iowa, one of those schools, played for the Orlando Magic a bit, has had some big moments for Team Canada. He's a name that a lot of people might not recognize, but can definitely hoop. Then we have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's going to be a future league MVP, in my opinion, especially when he comes to the Toronto Raptors. Former Toronto Raptor Corey Joseph, NBA champion Jamal Murray, Kelly Olynyk, Kevin Pangos, and Dwight Powell. Pangos, obviously a shooter, played for the Cavs for a little bit, but notably, this team, there's a lot of firepower, especially at those guard positions. I mean, a squad with Jamal Murray, RJ Barrett, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Off your bench, you have Lou Dort, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Kojo. Right, there are a lot of dudes on this team that can certainly hoop and certainly play at those guard spots. But the one area that has just really hurt Team Canada's basketball's chances, winning games, winning tournaments, being effective out there against these random smaller, whether it be South American teams, European teams, whoever the heck they're playing. It's their inability to defend, inability to especially guard the front court players, whether it be on the wing. I mean, a guy like Thomas Satoransky absolutely cooked us up in FIBA qualifiers, or just random Czech Republic big men just bullying us down there on the boards, doing their things down low. So the Toronto Raptors have struggled in those areas. So getting more NBA level power forwards, bigs like Andrew Wiggins who can come out there and defend, Chris Boucher, who has played under Nick Nurse for season after season, and a lot of people questioned why he didn't play for Team Canada, but now, given all the stuff regarding the comments regarding Nick Nurse, everything that's brought up, more light has sort of been shed onto that now. Bringing Boucher back, who can block a lot of shots, can guard forwards, is a strong defender. He's DPOY in the G League, so he's a guy that certainly can do his thing against below NBA level competition, even though it's still NBA, mid-level NBA. Chris Boucher, he's been a good defender in the actual NBA as well, so him being back would be huge. And looking at that list of players, I don't think it's Nick Nurse's fault they weren't necessarily selected or they chose to dip out or anything like that. But we have younger guys like Shaedon Sharpe, Benedict Mathurin, right? Younger guys coming up through the wings, coming up through the ranks that could certainly have a serious impact on this Team Canada roster. So I'd imagine, they had this 3-year commitment under Nick Nurse's sort of philosophy. They kind of locked in a few guys that aren't really NBAers just yet. And hopefully now with a new coach, we can sort of draw from our biggest pool of talent, right? Get the most players possible that will come in and, give us the best chance of, one, at least making the Olympics. Because I think the last time we made it was in the year 2000. I believe that's the case. So it's been a long time since Team Canada's actually played in the Olympics. And with all of the NBA level talent we have on this roster, we should be able to make a little run, man. Jamal Murray, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, RJ Barrett, Andrew Wiggins, and then whatever big you want to run out there at the center position. That is a nasty lineup for international competition. So Team Canada, there's high expectations there. We better make the Olympics. We better have the squad coming out in full force. I'm confident in Jordi Fernandez for coaching the squad. So let me know what you guys think about this whole Canada basketball drama. Nick Nurse pushing people away, keeping people from being involved on this team. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. But you guys are best to make it this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't been. If you've been watching the vids and haven't subscribed already, obviously this isn't necessarily Raptors news. Nurse is associated with the Raptors, Team Canada, yada, yada, yada. But you guys are the best. I'm signing out. Cheers.